It's 6. We're going to call the September Alma School District Board meeting to order. It looks like everybody is present except Miss Horton. Have y'all had a chance to review the August regular meeting minutes? Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving those minutes with a right-hand vote? That brings us to the August 21st special meeting minutes. Have y'all had a chance to review
Move
those?
to approve those minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approval of those minutes, right-hand vote? Ron, how did you vote on that?
Yeah.
Approval, thanks. I don't believe there's any public comments. I didn't have the sheet, but that brings us to the consent agenda, and the only thing in there is the financial report. Do you have anything on that?
Let me just make one comment, and this is kind of buried in there, just for your information. You know, we did receive some CARES Act money back, gosh, in June, I guess. We have just about exhausted that with the things we have done for dealing with the pandemic. I think we have a little bit left, but not much. But you know, the personal protective equipment that we purchased, the air filtration work we've done, it went fairly rapidly. We also used some of it to buy some additional Chromebooks to be sure that we for sure had one for every student. But that's worked out really well. We were able to use that money to do a lot of things that we couldn't have done otherwise. So I'm glad we had it. It worked well, and we've just about spent it all. Of course, the good part of that is we should be about at the end of needing to spend any of it. So that's worked out. We had about the right amount, so that's good.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor with a right-hand vote? Passes unanimously. Superintendent's report.
Several things I want to give you some information on regarding the first weeks of school. Of course, tomorrow finishes 3 weeks. First of all, our enrollment. Tomorrow, you know, we have traditionally had our own count on Friday after Labor Day. We've kept that for years. That's tomorrow. So these numbers, they could change 1 or 2 when we update it tomorrow, but probably won't. We are at 3257 as of this afternoon. Several things about that. That is about 20 less than we were last year, which I couldn't be happier that it's only 20. First thing you got to factor into that is our kindergarten is down 35 as compared to last year. So if kindergarten was normal, we'd be up a little bit, up 15 or so. Everybody's kindergarten is down nationwide. Of course, I can't speak for other states, but in Arkansas, although kindergarten is normally 5-year-olds, parents don't have to start them until they're 6. So, you know, it's not uncommon for parents to say, well, my child's really kind of immature, I think I'll wait. That's the reason for the law. It appears that lots of parents of 5-year-olds are saying, I think we'll just sit this one out and we'll start next year. I understand that. I get that under the present circumstances. So that's down 35. So if you factor that into the down 20 to overall, I'm really happy with our enrollment. When I talk with other superintendents around the state, to be that close to the same as we were last year is unusual. There are some of our peer districts, the peer districts that we compare ourselves to regularly, are down 100, 150, 200. Those numbers are common around the state. And they don't know why. They don't know where the kids are. One district, that superintendent is a very good friend of mine, they're down 700, and they're just a little bit bigger than us. And they don't know where the kids are. They can't find them. Now, this is in another part of the state, but nonetheless, that's significant. Another district, and this is a little bit different take on the numbers. another district in the eastern part of the state, a good bit bigger than us, but they have multiple junior highs. One of their junior highs should have about 700 students in it, and on campus, now that's not counting the students that are learning from home, but on campus, they had 83 kids. You know, it's all over the place. There's lots and lots of interesting things going on. But with that said, I'm pretty pleased with our enrollment. I didn't know what to expect. Of course, as you remember, over the last 3-4 months, we've had lots of students. You all have signed lots of forms, and we had lots of school choice back in last spring. And if it hadn't been for that, we might have been down 100 plus. So that's a really good thing. It varies a little bit from campus to campus, but roughly 20 to 25% of our students are remote or blended learners learning from home. That's going well, depending on which teacher you talk to. Some teachers, they're saying, piece of cake, got it, no problem, got it figured out, we're working great. Others are still working to get it figured out. Others are not there yet. I'm confident they will be. We're giving them lots of help and lots of support, lots of things to try. I guess I would say the biggest concern we have right now is of those students that are learning from home, remote or blended, there are too many. There are too many that are not doing much of it or any work. We know they're there. They checked out a Chromebook. We've heard from them. We've talked to them, but they're just not doing any work. Now, if they were here on campus, teachers could be hounding them. Get your work done. Turn your work in. But that's a lot harder when they're not here. We've got to, and again, I was on a Zoom session with a bunch of superintendents just this afternoon, and I asked that question, are you all having that same scenario? And they said, yes, everybody's having that. A lot of those students are probably the same students that in a normal time, they're not doing work in the classroom without a teacher staying on them about it. But that's a lot harder to do when they're not right here with us. But we're working at that. We can't afford to let them go a school year and not do any work. That can't happen for them. So we're working hard at that. We're still trying to figure out exactly how to do that. We're, the last step of our protocol we've set up is to go knock on their door and say, what's going on here? Why aren't you doing any work? Now, that still doesn't mean they will, that we can get them to, but that's an issue. Now, I don't want you to think by any means that's most of them. That's a small number, but one is too many in that case. And I guess, under the circumstances, that's a problem, but we could have far worse problems, I guess I would say. We were very fortunate. We went 2 weeks, our first 2 weeks of school, with 0 cases of students or staff. That was not the norm. You've seen the news reports just on the media of some of the schools around us that have not been that way. Some of them closing schools for periods of time and canceling programs. It's not been us. We had our first case Saturday. Was it last Saturday? Was that when it was?
No,
Friday afternoon. Yeah, Friday night, late Friday afternoon. That being our first, it took us longer than it will now to work through the process. All the notifications, I sent you all an email a couple of days ago about what our process is. And part of that is dictated by the health department. Part of it, we had to figure out exactly how we're going to do things. But we have that well in hand now. If you haven't looked at it, and I just printed this off, this is the home page of our website. And we will update this every morning as to any data that has changed. But as of this morning, district-wide, we had 4 students with active cases, 2 staff with active cases, 27 students quarantined because they'd were a possible exposure, and 5 staff that were quarantined. We have developed a system with the schools, a database that they will keep that up to date. It will flag when a person can return based on health department guidelines. Travis has made some personal friends with folks at the health department. And I can imagine some districts, we hadn't had that many. We've had 6 cases, 4 and 2, to call about. There's been districts with 106 or more. So it's quite a process. But I think our process is good. I think it will, going forward, there's a couple of things we're still refining to make it simpler. You all know how strongly I believe in being transparent about everything, and that's the reason we did this. Anybody can see, all they got to go do is look, and they'll see how many cases we have and where they are. One of the things I am really proud of, none of these happened at school. We haven't had any spread from one person to another that happened at school. That I hope that will continue to be true. It may or may not. But the reason it is true, and the reason it will continue to be true if that's the case, is because our students particularly, but our staff too, they're doing a wonderful job of doing what they're supposed to do. You walk around, you just don't see anybody with their mask not in place. You don't see students congregating, being with each other. Even our little ones. You go out to the primary school, and of course, little ones will do about whatever you ask them to do. You got to remind them a lot, but they walk down the hall like this so that they're, arm's length from the person in the line in front of them. And that's just kind of interesting to see. But they are really, our kids are taking it seriously. First day was the same as yesterday or today of students doing all the right things. And that's why I think we got such a low case count, and that's why we haven't had any spread. We are continuing to remind students that this doesn't apply just at school. It applies everywhere they are, anywhere they go. They have to keep their mask on, and they have to socially distance. And I think that's starting to sink in. I think they're hearing us, and I think they're doing that. I won't tell you this is easy for any of us. It's not. It's not for you as parents. It's hard. But it's the hand we were dealt, and it's the one we have to play. We're going to make it work well. We cannot afford for students' education for a year or a week or a day to not be the best we can give them. And our teachers they're working very hard. Some of them are working too hard. They're taking it, they take their responsibility to do the very best they can do to the nth degree. And I've talked with several of them just when I see them, no, all you can do is the best you can do. And you can't beat yourself up because that may not be getting it all done. And we're getting there. And we're going to be okay with that. But we're going to have school. We're going to have school well. And I know this doesn't matter. I know this is an irrelevant point because all that really matters is the Alma children. That's all that matters to us. But I just have to tell you, I talked to a lot of other superintendents, and we're in a way better place than the majority of school districts in Arkansas. And that's because of our students and our parents and our staff. They're doing what they need to do. So I feel really good about that. Any of y'all want to chime in on anything?
I'll mention a little bit about Friday's case. We ended up, and I'm throwing some numbers out, sending 8 kids home because of possible close contact in one classroom. That classroom left their classroom 3 different times during the school day. And I tell you, our teachers and our principals are doing such a great job. When they leave their classroom, when they go to their music room or their computer room or the PE class, they sit with the same groups in the next class that they do in their regular class. So if they didn't do that, when we were tracing, we would end up sending 20, 25 kids home. But because of the way that the principals with the teachers have prepared, we only had to send home like 7 or 8 out of a class because they're always around that 6 foot, 15 minute. That 15 minutes is what's key. So they're always within 6 foot of the same students. So instead of sending 25, 30 home, we only had to send 8 home. I was so impressed with the primary school in particular, just on this day. They had everything lined out, they had all the names, they had all the seating charts. I mean, it made the tracer's job so easy. I mean, it was right there and lined out, and I've been very impressed with all of them. We've had some type of a case at every building. The assistant principals that are in charge of that, I'm in charge of the COVID tracing, but the assistant principals at the building really aren't, and they assist, really I assist them to a degree. We met this morning, came out with a new chart that we are working together overall and making sure everybody's on the exact same page. Because some of the issues, we got siblings in different buildings, but I am so proud of the way that our team has worked together. Our teachers are buying in and understanding how important it is, but our administrators are supporting the teachers in a way that I'm very proud of. So it makes my job a lot easier on the tracing part.
Anybody else?
Are siblings an automatic, like if one?
Quarantine?
Yeah. Even if
it-
they're for primary ones in high school?
Yeah, short answer is yes. There could be circumstances where they wouldn't be, but generally, yes.
Sure.
Well, and to go a little bit farther, if a student or a teacher in the primary school, and if your son or daughter was in there and they were close contact with that one person, then the brother or sister would be a second generation, so they would not be in quarantine.
Okay.
So it is not automatic. It has to be a direct contact with that person. So if your brother or sister is a secondary contact, then you are not considered that. So no quarantine.
But obviously, if a child is positive, their sibling would be a close contact automatically.
Sure.
Are the districts with more cases than us, are they still following the model of positive cases and probable close contacts?
Yeah, that's health department rules.
Okay.
And, you know, we've said it all summer to you, and I guess it's gotten a little bit better, but the health department, and, you know, this was new to them too. They've never done this either, and they're trying to figure it out, but there's been lots of changes in the procedures. What was it? Was it Sunday that you went online and the form had changed? They're still refining it and getting it done. But the short answer to your question is yes. Everybody's supposed to be following the same procedure. Now, we're doing our dead level best to follow it exactly as they lay it out to us. I can't tell you that everybody's doing that. I don't know, but they're supposed to be.
Gotcha. Versus closing a whole school or?
Yeah, they've given us, I'm with you now.
Yeah.
They gave us, the governor, the health department, gave schools a lot more flexibility 3 weeks ago, week or two before school started, than they had been saying all summer. You know, all summer they were saying, we'll make that decision and let you know. They started, a week or two before school started, they started saying, you call us and tell us what the circumstances is and we'll decide together. So the schools that have closed or sent a class home or closed a building for a day, that's not a unilateral decision on either part. Either the state doesn't make it by themselves, the school doesn't make it by themselves. It's what's going to be the best situation and work it out together.
What are as the guidelines sit today? Is it the 24 hours now or 48 still? for
48 hours before you had the test or before you first had symptoms, whichever was the earliest.
And it's 10 days now, not 14?
I'll let Travis answer that. It's complicated.
This is weird. 10 days if you're the positive person, because they call it 4 days before that incubation period. If you're a PCC, close contact, then you're 14 days from the last contact with the positive. So there's it's a little weird, but I'm finally getting it together.
I've been asked, is the health department doing the rapid test yet? Like if there's a child at school that has a fever, are we sending those, like telling the parent they can go straight there and get a rapid?
That's gone back and forth. You know, at one time they gave us a form to sign that a student, parent could go to the health department with that form and they would put them at the head of the line and test them. And then they came back and said, oh, throw that form away, don't use it. So you want to?
Well, that's really the gist of it. And they're trying their hardest to give front row, but the rapid test is a lot of times negative, and it's false negative. So then they go take a regular test, and then we have to isolate them until the test result is back.
The rapid test is so unreliable, and even if you get a positive on the rapid test, they call it a probable positive, because the test is just not that concrete. I'm not real sure why they're even using it.
We have to we have to treat a rapid test as a positive, obviously. But sometimes, we encourage a real test, I'll say that.
Anything else on this? You know,
If I can say one more thing on that, the only question that we had from parents was, is the room safe to go back to? And I want to clarify that we have our regular daily maintenance every night that sprays.
I want to jump in there, excuse me, Travis. Just be sure, I know we said this, but I want to say it again. Every night, every room in the school district, we spray down. Every night, every room, we spray down. Now, what he's getting ready to talk about, when we have a case in a room, we go beyond that.
So what we do is, we go in there with a different fogger, and we fog the whole room. And then we also put one of those great new filtration machines in there, and it's like what it is in the surgical rooms, like we talked about last time. So we put that in the room for 8 or 10 hours, fog it, so it really hits 3 different sanitizing areas. So we feel very confident that it's safe. And one of the rooms had a kinfolk of mine in it, and I told my kinfolk that I was very sure that it was a safe room. It hit home a little bit, so it did. So I'm very confident to tell everybody in Alma that those rooms are as safe as we can make them.
John, I noticed that your second grader was in one of the rooms. First grader, okay, was in one of the rooms that, so you got all that information. Unless you all tell me not to, I will continue to send you short emails every time we have a case, because I want you all to be fully informed. Not gonna be long, not a lot of detail, but just let you know that we've had it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
No, it works good when you're accosted by,
Yes.
parents around
Yes.
town, so
Sure.
it's good. I appreciate it.
And, that's the reason we started doing this. And I got to thinking, I want parents to know what we're doing. That's the reason I sent them the procedure email. And then that's the reason we started doing this. I want people to know. I don't want them, the last thing I want people to say is, well, why didn't you tell us?
No, I think it's good. One parent stopped me, and I had not checked the website, and they had, and they knew more than I did, and so I said, well, that's the most up-to-date information, so you bet.
And just, again, to repeat, we will update this fairly early every morning. Crystal said, we agreed this morning, we will have it done by 10 a.m. every morning with the previous days and evenings activities, anything that we needed to put on it. Please, as you know, I know I'm a broken record, but please let me know if you hear from upset parents. I would love to have the opportunity to talk to them, and they can call me. Give out my cell phone number to anybody you want to, or tell me, and I'll call them. I don't want people wondering and not knowing.
So far, they've not been upset. They're just,
And
a heightened level of concern amongst everybody, I
Sure,
think.
but they don't have to be upset. If they just want to know something, I want to talk to them. I want the chance to tell them.
I will tell you, I had a person that got one of the emails of your child was in a classroom and I believe they were not affected, but just letting the class know. But their comment to me was your cell phone was on there and they were impressed by that. So,
Well, being a school administrator is always a 24/7, 365 job, but it really is right now. And that just goes with the territory. ASBA regional meeting, without no surprise that they're going to have it remotely, October 26th. We'll get some information out to you in a few days about that. Obviously, it'll be an evening, that evening, similar to the area meetings we've gone to in the past. And I don't guess they're going to feed us dinner remotely.
I was thinking the same thing. I thought they getting out of feeding us.
I talked with someone a couple of days ago. They are undecided about the state meeting in Little Rock. They would love to have it. They hope they can, but it's too early to decide. So that's just going to have to wait a little while, see how things go. If I was guessing, I would guess that it'll be remote also. But that's just my guess at this point. If you'll turn to item D in your packet, this is a required action each year. Item D and item E are similar. Item D, no, I'm getting ahead of myself, excuse me. Item D, yes. This is a state law that you may remember it from previous years. It doesn't make any sense. It compares our staff salaries of year before last to last year. Not this year, year before last to last year. And if anybody got a 5% or more salary increase for any reason, we have to publicly disclose that, and that's what this is. So I'd ask that the board approve this document.
Move to approve.
Second that.
All in favor of approving Resolution D? Passage unanimously.
Item E, which I was getting ahead of myself on, this is another one of those fall of the year things. This simply is stating that item E and F are very similar documents. Item E is the state document. Item F is for state-run federal education programs, administered by the state but using federal money. These are both, and I suppose we probably ought to vote on them separately, but they're both just stating that we're going to follow the rules and that we know what the rules are, and we're going to follow appropriate processes and follow the law. What it really is, what it really is a gotcha document. So if we screw up and don't, they can come back and say, wait a minute, you said right there you would. And of course we will.
Move to approve the statement of assurance.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor with a right-hand vote? Any opposed? Passes unanimously. That moves us to the federal
Move to
statement.
approve the federal statement of assurance.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor with a right-hand vote? Passes unanimously.
Item G and H, again, are two similar, no, excuse me, they're both in item G. You may have been aware, you may have heard the governor talk about this about a month ago. The governor set aside some of his CARES Act money to pay the cost of school district staff if they have to, if they are infected or if they have to quarantine, so that teachers don't lose pay or have to take sick leave. The School Board Association wrote these policies for them. These are the policies that implement that. And that's all this is. There's one for certified personnel and another one for classified personnel. And all this does is implement that policy that lets us be reimbursed from the state if a staff member is off for either reason, infected or quarantined, for the first 10 work days of that.
Move to approve the emergency leave policies as proposed.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor with a right-hand vote? Passes unanimously.
And item H is a couple more transfers. In both of these cases, these are from Fort Smith to Alma. I'd recommend that they be approved.
Move to approve the student transfers.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the student transfers with a right-hand vote? Ron, did you? Yep, passes unanimously.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you all very much.